37 Liheslaturan Guåhan is called to order. This is an emergency session. And the call to the emergency session issued July 30, 2024. My call read, whereas Guam Department of Education public schools are scheduled to open on August 7, 2024, and 2 new charter schools are scheduled to open on August 6, 2024. A public hearing will be held on August 1, 2024 at 9 a.m. on a bill to fund the new charter schools, and the sponsor of the bill cites that public funding is necessary for the new charter schools to open on time. GDOE schools are again facing various issues, potentially jeopardizing the health and safety of students, including schools without sanitary inspections. GDOE claims that some schools will be unable to pass inspection, yet should still be allowed to operate for the school year 2024-2025. A bill to allow schools to open upon the sole determination of the superintendent without the concurrence by public health has been offered to avoid double sessions or a late start for some GDOE schools. In light of the above, as Speaker, is hereby certify that emergency conditions exist which justify an emergency session. Therefore, Liheslaturan Guåhan will be called into emergency session on July 30, 2024 at 10 a.m. in the Guam Congress Building to address the emergencies. While Bill number 317-37 COR and Bill number 324-37 COR have been proposed for the emergency session, in the absence of a session agenda adopted by the Committee on Rules, notice is hereby given that all introduced bills listed at the Guam Legislature's website are potential items to be placed on the agenda pursuant to motion, standing rules, and consistent with the emergency call. The daily order of business shall be as set forth in 1.02C of the 37th Guam Legislature Standing Rules. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. And attached to that call to session was the request from Senator San Augustine for emergency session for Bill 324-37 COR. Speaker Terlahi's letter in response to Senator San Augustine's call for emergency session on Bill 324. Follow-up letter from Senator San Augustine for an emergency session for Bill 324-37 COR. Also attached was the request from Senator Dwayne T.D. St. Nicholas for an emergency session for Bill 317-37 COR. And a follow-up letter from Senator St. Nicholas for an emergency session for Bill number 317-37 COR. And copies of the bills, each of those bills was attached. If I could recognize our Majority Leader, Senator Shelton. Majority Leader, you're recognized.
Seduce Masi, Madam Speaker. Buenas, good morning. Notwithstanding the House rules, I move to adopt today's legislative session agenda dated July 30th, 2024.
On that motion to adopt the agenda, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. Majority Leader Senator Shelton, you're recognized.
Seduce Masi, Madam Speaker. Notwithstanding the House rules, I move to waive legislative session agenda items 2 through 6, which are the prayer, recognition of a recipient of Imiladin Mastakilu na Sacrificial, reciting of the Inafresi, singing of the Guam hymn in Chamorro, and singing of the national anthem.
Are there any objections to waiving of those items on our agenda? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. Clerks, please take roll call.
Senator Barnett, Senator Bloss, Senator Brown, Senator Duenas, Senator Fisher, Senator Lujan, Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, Senator Parkinson, Senator Perez, Senator Kanata, Senator San Augustine, Senator San Nicolas, Senator Shelton, Senator Titagui, Speaker Terlahi. Madam Speaker, there is a quorum.
Sedil's Masi, clerks. Senator Shelton, Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Sedil's Masi, Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I move to waive legislative session agenda items 8 through 12, which are the call of the approval of the Legislative Journal, communications and petitions, messages from Liheslaturan Guåhan, reports of standing committees, and reports of select committees.
On that motion, is there any objection to waiving legislative agenda items 8 through 12? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. Majority Leader, you're recognized.
Sedil's Masi, Madam Speaker, I move that bills introduced, bill numbers 318-37LS through 322-37LS and 324-37COR through 332-37COR, and resolutions introduced, resolution numbers 421-37LS through 423-37LS, 424-37COR through 434-37COR, 435-37LS through 446-37LS, and 447-37COR through 451-37COR be deemed to have been given their first reading.
On that motion, are there any objections as to the first reading and introduction of bills and resolutions? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. We're now on motions.
Madam Speaker,
Please proceed.
thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to excuse senators not present for today's legislative session.
On the motion to excuse senators not present, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. We're under motions. Senator San Nicolas, you are recognized.
Ma'am, I'd like to motion to place bill number 317-37 core, and I'd like to open it up for discussion.
You'd like to place that on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. On that motion to place on the agenda Bill 317, can you please read the title, Senator?
Yes, ma'am. It's bill number 317-37, introduced by myself and Senator Joe S. San Augustine. The whole thing?
Yes.
It's an act. It's introduced by myself and Senator Joe S. San Augustine. An act to authorize the operations of Guam public schools that are awaiting inspections for school year 2024 and 2025.
All right. There's a motion to place that bill on the agenda. It has been reported out of committee. Senator?
No, ma'am. Yes. Yes, ma'am. There was a public hearing.
All right, so there's been a public hearing on this bill. There's no committee report. On the motion to place the bill 317 onto the agenda, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
On motions, Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Bill 324-37 COR. As you mentioned earlier, it was added to the emergency session, which I requested, but I do have a public hearing scheduled for the 1st. The bill is an act to appropriate the sum of $510,000 from the fiscal year 2024 excess revenue collected from the above levels adopted in Public Law 37-42 as amended to the Guam Academy Charter School Council for the 2 charter schools and administrative costs of the Guam Academy Charter School. This is based on the request from the council itself. So my question is that it be placed unless we do require the public hearing. If not, I request that it be added on as it was declared part of the emergency.
Sidus Masi, Senator, yes, we are anticipating a public hearing on that bill on August 1st in the morning, and I had assured you we would call session for that afternoon as soon as the public hearing is held, because otherwise we have a statute that requires public hearings for any bill to be placed on the floor. We also have rules that we can waive, but that one is a statute. So,
Madam Speaker, notwithstanding, at least have the colleagues vote on it if possible, because otherwise it's just a funding issue. We would end up in the committee of the whole, and everybody would be present. Again, what we're going to do at the public hearing. It's something to consider.
it's not a rule that I can waive, it's a statute, so I am going to rule that motion out of order because there's no public hearing on the bill. So,
Can we get a minute of recess, Madam Speaker?
there's a minute recess. back from recess. We're under motions. We're back from recess. Majority Leader, Senator Shelton, you're recognized. We're still on motions.
Assiduous Masi, Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask for the body to allow the entrance of former Speaker Judy Wanpad into the session hall at this time.
Privilege of the floor for former Senator.
Yes.
Speaker. That is granted.
Madam Speaker, just a little bit of order here. I was still speaking, and we haven't clarified this. And we're
On the motion, Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Yes, we were discussing about Bill 324, ma'am, and yes, you did address it in the emergency, but you also stated that the statute requires the public hearing. I just wanted to make sure that on the first, when we have the public hearing, you will call a session for us to come back in and discuss 324. That's what I want assurance of. If you can state that, I'm comfortable, and I'll sit back down. And let that be a motion if need be. And at 2 o'clock,
Yes,
if possible.
Senator, I anticipated that we will be discussing the first bill until that time, and that we will be in the same session. Otherwise, if we recess, I will call that session on
All
that
right.
bill. Yes.
Thank you.
We're now on motions. Is there any other motion? If not, we're on second reading, and we're on bill number 317-37 COR. Senator San Nicolas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to speak on the measure.
Please.
Proceed. Good morning, colleagues. This is bill number 317-37, introduced by myself, Dwayne T.D. San Nicolas, and Joe S. San Augustine, an act to authorize the operation of the Guam public schools that are awaiting inspection for school year 2024 and 2025. I woke up this morning, and I told my wife, I said, you know, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to fight for the kids. And she says, no, you're not. You're not going to go down there and fight. You're going to try to get along so that way we can help the kids. You know, I'm an educator, and so is my wife. And, you know, when I look at something, I'm a businessman also, but I also try to find the value. What is the value of what we're trying to do here? And obviously, I'm standing here before you because I find tremendous value in opening schools on time. And I also find value in assisting those placed in charge of our students, I find the value in helping them out. It's been 2 years and nothing has changed. And I'm gonna say it. It takes a community. It's a community effort. So the schools didn't come into this disrepair under, without us watching. We were all watching this. But, of course, with the limited resources we have and all that, things happen. But there's enough blame to go around. We shouldn't be blaming each other. We should try to find ways to come to the table, and that's what this bill does. It allows for some breathing room. It allows for some cooler heads to prevail. It allows for us to take a break, step back a little, and work together to try to mitigate, trying to fix DOE and make it so that, it brings pride and joy to us all. I have some stories, that changed my life as a school counselor. I had one kid who, just running around all the time, jumping the fence. The parapros would always try to catch him. But, we tried to rescue this kid. I spoke to him. He didn't speak much. But working with the child, working with him one-on-one, he was able to open up and eventually graduate. Kids come to school sometimes to find refuge, sometimes to grow and learn and be with their friends, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. There's another kid came into my office and says, "Mr. Snickles, can I plug my phone in your outlet?" I said, why are you doing that? Because they don't have power at home. I said, so when you're not in school, how do you charge your phone? I have to walk down to the Agate Marina and charge it there, sometimes in the darkness. These kids changed my life. I had another kid. He goes, "Mr. Snickles, I don't sell drugs anymore. I sell sushi." And that's amazing. I learned something from a child, entrepreneurism. I found out later that I wasn't supposed to be buying sushi from kids. Statute of limitations ran out on that. But these kids are my inspiration. There's another kid who came into my office, and she saw a loaf of bread and peanut butter and jelly. I love goobers, and thank goodness I'm able to purchase at the commissary, because that's a lot of kids. She comes in and she says, "Mr. Snickles, can I make some peanut butter and jelly?" And I said, sure, no problem. She ends up making the whole loaf. And she says, "Mr. Snickles, I'm so sorry. I would like to bring some home to my brothers and sisters." And so it just blew my mind. Kids come to school for food. Some of them, this is the only place they get 2 hot meals a day. You should listen to some of the stories I had to endure as a school counselor about our children needing food. And our schools are a place for them to find those 2 meals. I have been criticized, I have been mocked about my reasoning to do this. But again, I say that this brings tremendous value to not only our kids, but our communities, to keep schools open as much as possible. Of course, I'm not saying that there isn't any problems with our schools. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, but we have to work toward making them better. I'm sure, I looked at the list of schools that are going to be closed. Those are the schools that I grew up in. Marshall Elementary, Petey Middle School, Ocean View Middle School, and where I used to work, Southern High School. Those are all Southern What's going to happen to our southern residents? You're going to throw them in disarray? You're going to make it so inconvenient for their parents? And you're not going to allow the kids to seek the refuge in schools for food, for pure, for the refuge of being with their peers, or perhaps maybe being with a teacher who cares and loves them so much and wants them to learn and grow. I had one kid a couple months ago. He calls me up. He said, this is a kid that's always fighting, gangster, you know. And says, Mr. Snickles, I'm a nurse now. It's like, what? You know, I'm a nurse, and I'm making money, and I'm living out here in the States. And he goes, you know, if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for what you did for me, I don't think I would have turned out this way. That same kid, on first of the month, he would bring in a ball of spaghetti, and he would share it. You know, this is a kid that's always getting in trouble. But he shared it with all the special needs kids and all the other kids that came in. My room, my office was always standing room only. If there is a fight that I'm going to do, if there is something that I'm going to charge at, if there's anything that I'm going to put my life on the line for, it's for these kids. And I implore you, I ask you, let's work together. Let's try to bring some common ground. And let's try to fix these schools together. Madam Speaker, I have nothing further. Thank you, Madam.
Jesus Masi, Senator. Motion.
Ma'am, I'd like to make a motion to call the committee of the whole to have DOE and everybody else involved to come in, and so we could discuss the bill further, and maybe they can give us an idea of the timeline and whatever to try to get our schools back up to par. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. On that motion, is there any objection?
Point of order.
Senator Blas, point of order. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sorry, you can't hear you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think to help the good gentleman, he did ask to speak, but he never asked to move the bill into the third reading. No, he didn't. So can you make the motion, proper motion, so that we can make sure this is kosher, okay? So,
Madam Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to place it on the third reading. Thank you.
Situs Masi, Senator. On the motion to resolve into the committee of the whole and allow representatives from the agencies to come in, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that motion carries. Please call the agencies in. DOE, if public health is here.
Buenas. The Committee of the Whole is hereby called to order. Colleagues, materials for the Committee of the Whole are in the shared session Google Drive folder labeled Committee of the Whole. Bill number 317 COR. Proposed amendments must be submitted in writing to the clerks via email, sessiondrive@guamlegislature.org. Amendments not in writing will be called out of order. Rules of engagement for the Committee of the Whole. There will be three rounds for discussion. We'll have 2 rounds of questions for the panel, with each senator allotted 10 minutes for questions, not including responses. Time to speak may not be yielded from more than one member to another. A member who yields that member's time on a question yields all that member's time on that question and may not later speak, even if all the time yielded was not used. After the completion of the 2 rounds of questions, panelists will be excused. Third round is for amendments or comments or to speak on the bill. Questions shall be confined to the substance or nature of Bill 317-37 COR. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individuals testifying is not permitted. Any violations of this general rule of conduct will be called out of order and may result in removal from the hall. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from participating and will be escorted and removed from the room. After we complete discussion of the bill, I'll allow the sponsor to close, and I'll entertain a motion for the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, followed by a motion to rise from the Committee of the Whole, at which time I'll report the bill out as recommended by the Committee of the Whole. See, Duas Masi. And currently joining us on our panel, we do have the representatives from the Guam Department of Education. We did reach out to the Department of Public Health and Social Services, and we were told representatives from the agency would be on the way. Also had just reached out to the Department of Public Works if they can send a representative who hopefully will be joining us after lunch. And so at this time, I'd like to ask the Sergeant at Arms if he could swear in the panel. Sidus Masi, Sarge. Senator Tydegui?
Yeah, point of inquiry, Mr. Chair. Just
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the rules of an engagement, I just wanted to make sure that when we go we usually go 1 round, then we go a second round. But because public health is not here, are you going to give us the opportunity to have those 2 rounds with public health when they come?
Thank you for that, Senator Tydegui, and I guess we'll figure that out when public health shows up. But yeah, I'm cognizant of the that you guys want an opportunity to ask public health questions, so definitely will allow for that when the opportunity presents itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, and so we'll go ahead and start. Yeah, Senator San Augustine?
Mr. Chair, I just recommend that until your whole panel is full, then we'll start the Committee of the Whole, because whatever question I want to ask DOE or public health, it'll relate to both. That's what this bill is about. It's about allowing the inspection, allowing the superintendent to basically take charge. And I like to make sure that whatever result may happen, because public health's failure to inspect, or for whatever reason they can't inspect, that the superintendent is aware that if he ends up in court, he understands why he's in court. And it's not just basically just saying, you're in charge, handle it. But he needs to understand the whole ramifications. And you also mentioned Public Works, Mr. Chair, and why don't we just wait for everybody to get here and we just start one time? Because otherwise, you're talking 10 minutes, another 10 minutes, that's 20 minutes per person. We'll be here all day until tomorrow. I actually motion that we just recess until they all get here, maybe by 2 o'clock. Then they have no excuse. It's 11:15. It was 1:45 when you mentioned they're on their way. Guam's not that big. In 30 minutes, you can get from one end to the other. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion to recess.
Sidus Masi, Senator San Augustine. There's a motion to recess. There's been an objection. Speaker Terlai?
Yes, I think we can proceed with public health DOE, if you're willing to waive the rules and allow us rounds with public health, then we should proceed, because DOE has been here since early this morning. We've declared an emergency at the request of the senators introducing bills that this is an emergency. I'd like to talk about what the emergency is right now, because it seemed like every hour was very important to them. And I think DOE is the critical link here. We need to know what is their emergency. We need that really spelled out. If you will allow us, I would move that, well, I guess we have to deal with that motion first, but I'd like to just either you cite the rule very clearly what we're going to do in public health, that we're going to allow rounds or not.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So there's a motion to recess. There's been an objection. All those in favor of recessing till 2 p.m., please signify by raising your hands. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion carries. See you at 2.